Welcome to our Sunday morning meditation service. I'm going to be doing a summer solstice on Monday at 7 p.m. And we do chanting. And Larry, can you help with that? Can you? Great.
I knew that.
Right. I forgot to ask them, which is kind of important because they are so great. And I have a whole bunch of drums that people can use that have been given to me through the years. And so we will do it outside if the weather is great. Does anybody know if the weather's going to be great on Monday? We can go on our computers, right, and figure that out. But we will walk the labyrinth, and that will be exactly at 7 o'clock. We'll meet at the labyrinth, and that's where the garden is. And Joel, I hope that it's unlocked. And it should be unlocked on Sunday anyway, so that children can go in there. That would be great. We've had some vandalism, so you hate to lock things, but it's just the fairies are dancing in there. We don't want them to be, upset with anybody that is not wanting to do anything great, but meditate, walk around, and enjoy that wonderful garden. But do go out to the garden if you can and walk it. And we have a labyrinth that you can walk, and that's what we'll be doing at 7 o'clock on Monday, is walk the labyrinth. Each person does it alone, and they're followed by everybody else. And then we'll either go to the grass that's right past the parking lot. You'll find it, I'll be there. Or if the weather is not good, then we'll be in Fellowship Hall. But bring your children, and they love it. It's all simple chanting, just all about nature and honoring what the native people were living on this America soil before other people came. Spiritual ceremonies, honoring all of life. Nobody wanted to know anything about them. They were savages, but they were not savages. They totally were connected to the spirit of all life. And they still are, and if people listen to them, they can stop the fires. In my area, I'm in the mountains. I have raked all the mountain areas around my home. And that's what everybody should do, is get all that dry stuff that's on the earth. Then I'm seeing things coming up, growing on my land that I've never seen before. And it's work, but it's healthy work. But this is what we would do, is clean up the woods, the nature, and stack it and take it to places that will receive it. So it's amazing energy that came through me when I just started raking. And I felt it was with the leprechauns and all the little fairies. And and I'm looking at the land just blossoming. So, but we can do a lot on our own without waiting for other people to do it. You just get that dry stuff up. So we're going to do a chant, call, and response. And just relax into it. We seem to have more light in this room than we usually have. Is there a reason for that? Okay. Yeah, we really want to get into that meditation feeling. Okay. Cleanse and purify my mind. I
Good morning, everyone. There's a scene from an old biblical movie. The title of it I am not certain of. It was either titled The Robe or it was titled Quo Vadis. But it was an interesting departure in that particular movie. There was one scene that was an interesting departure from almost all of the biblical movies that they do about Jesus. In this movie, a Roman soldier is trying to find this healer, this miracle worker, Jesus. And he's traveling through the different provinces and meeting different people that have met Jesus, and they've all been healed and changed. But he comes upon this one lady who is crippled, and she's being carried on a gurney. And he's talking to other people, and she says, I have met him. He healed me. And the Roman soldier looks at her and says, but your condition is hardly healed. Oh, she says, what has the condition of my body got to do with it? So it was an interesting departure, since what was being related there was that healing was a state of mind. She had received an understanding that relieved her of the mental suffering and pain she had over the idea that her physical body was incapacitated. So the healing was a healing of wholeness in mind. We are all in this country living miracle lives, though very few recognize it. And those that recognize it live in a state of gratitude. And that state of gratitude has little to do with the material benefits and advantages of the world. It is, in fact, a state of mind. But as I said, most people don't recognize it because we have been so long taken out of our reality. Can we have this first PowerPoint, please? In the Course in Miracles, it speaks to that issue this way. That's the Course in Miracles, page 251 in the old text. In the new text, it's 271. If you are blessed and do not know it, you need to learn it must be so. The knowledge is not taught, but its conditions must be acquired, for it is they that have been thrown away. You can learn to bless and cannot give what you have not. If then you offer blessing, it must have come first to yourself, and you must also have accepted it as yours, for how else could you give it away? That is why miracles offer you the testimony that you are blessed. If what you offer is complete forgiveness, you must have let guilt go, accepting the at-one-ment for yourself and learning you are guiltless. How could you learn what has been done for you, unknown to you, unless you do what you would have to do if it had been done for you? So I'm sure that some of you would like to read this again, and then there are those that are probably somewhat baffled by it, but then there are those that absolutely understand it. Absolutely understand it, because they have taken to task their awareness and their inner divine consciousness has revealed to them that consciousness of life that we were born to live in. But we're not, for so many people, living in it because the world has become too much on our minds. The world has distracted us and beguiled us from, listen to it, from feeling good. And you need to ask yourself today, how often do you just stop and recognize that you feel good? Because that is the human dilemma. It is the reason why human beings cannot get along with each other. The reason why we have differentials of hate and blame that take place in the human experience. Human beings are not living the God-conscious life they were created to live. And so they don't feel good because they don't feel God. They're not doing the will of God. They're not in the awareness of God. They're not in the awareness of the one presence, one power of all life. So that is the human dilemma. And so many people simply don't know it. They have gotten so used to not feeling good, and they have done everything they can to change that, but they don't know what is wrong because they have gone to alcohol, they've gone to drugs, they do all the collecting of material goods and advantages that they possibly can, and they don't know how to have the joy of their divinity. The world is too much on their mind. But those people that recognize this truth, well, should I read it again? I'm going to, can we have it up again, please, the PowerPoint? If you are blessed and do not know it, you need to learn it must be so. Look at that, it's not even saying it's something you must learn because you don't have it. You must learn that you are already blessed, you simply don't know it. The knowledge is not taught, but its conditions must be acquired, for it is they that have been thrown away. In other words, you have surrendered them for something else that occupies your thinking and your mind and your life. You can learn to bless and cannot give what you have not. If then you offer blessing, it must have come first to yourself. You couldn't possibly be offering blessing if you weren't living in a blessed level of awareness. And you must also have accepted it as yours, for how else could you give it away? That is why miracles offer you the testimony that you are blessed. Miracles are that departure from the thinking of the world. Masters practice departing from the thinking of the world so that they can feel good regardless of the conditions or circumstances of the world. And that's a departure from our ordinary living consciousness that we were raised in. And this is attempting to relate that to us. If what you offer, which is blessings, is complete forgiveness, you must have let guilt go, accepting the at-one-ment for yourself and learning you are guiltless, accepting the at-one-ment for yourself. How could you learn what has been? Can we have the rest of this, please? I'm at the bottom of that. How could you learn of what has been done for you, unknown to you, unless you do what you would have to do if it had been done for you? In other words, it's claiming that you are already blessed. And how could you give blessings unless you recognize that there has been a shift, a change within your own consciousness, so that you are no longer dwelling on the illusions that come from separation, the false definition of self, in which you're forever trying to see how or what personal advantages you may have over others, and you hold others in derision, you hold others in unforgiveness, you have thoughts. You think like the world is all about this whole idea. Figure out who's to blame. Let's get them taken care of. Let's bring them to justice, and let's get this place figured out so that we can all be at peace with each other. It's just nonsense. It's nonsense. Here's the truth about what's going on in the human experience. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? This is from The Door to Everything, and it's so well said. I am God who requires understanding, and your search for reunification with me is an individual responsibility. Each must learn for himself or herself how to live upward, as it were, through thought into the realm of feeling and into the realm of being. This upward movement can begin just where you are if you relinquish the customary attitudes and fill your heart with a new song, a song of love, a song of praise, a song of gratitude. Can we take this back again, please? I am God who requires understanding, and your search for reunification with me. And by the way, that search must occur. There has to come a place in a human being's experience where he or she realizes there's something missing. You may have, collected some things from the world, advantages, and that's all well and good. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, most people that finally get to this place of reunification have the advantages they need to enjoy the physical life. However, there should come a place where you recognize that you're missing something because, and you'll know this, just ask yourself the question, how often do you actually feel good? And comment on it. And how often are you at odds with what's going on in your life and in the world? Each must learn for himself or herself how to live upward, as it were, through thought into the realm of feeling and then into the realm of being. This upward movement can begin just where you are if you relinquish the customary attitudes and fill your heart with a new song, a song of love, a song of praise, a song of gratitude. And relinquishing the customary attitudes are the impulses of egocentric perception. The impulses of egocentric perception have forced us to define ourselves as separate body personalities who are forever in combat with each other for ascendancy, to look better, be better, smarter, richer, wiser than, and try to carry that with us into the experience of our relationships. Of course, it taints every relationship because it simply is in denial of, listen to it, this is what takes place in that unsaid conversation and communication we're having all the time. It says, we are not one. There's me and my lot in life, my personal self-interests, which simply conduct and carry on most of my thinking. Ego-generated thinking. The most valuable thing anybody can get is an insight into what is being said right there. Relinquish the customary attitudes. You have to learn how to do that, by the way. You have to be able to pause when once again Your mind is simply stewing in the limited thinking of the world, stewing on who's right, who's wrong, who's smarter than, bigger than, who needs to be punished, who is right. Carrying on all of the thinking of the insanity that the world has accepted as life. Joining it, participating in it, protesting against it, fearing it, doing everything that life is really not about from the level of mastery. Here it is now. We have it right here, and it's very easy to identify. Those who feel good are truly happy and have peace of mind. And it is because they live in a state of gratitude. If you did nothing else but attempted to live in a state of gratitude instead of trying to find things you could be grateful for, just be grateful for whatever you have, for whatever appears in your path, whether it even seems to be challenging to what would make your life work. You have to be grateful because there stands your teacher. To be grateful, to practice gratitude on a really extraordinary level. And there's the secret. That is what mastery is all about. But we have to practice withdrawing our allegiance to the changing conditions and circumstances of a mad, mad, mad world. So what did you think heaven was going to be all about? Drifted along, got banged around, knocked this way and that way. You're tossed to and fro by every changing tide of circumstances. The world defines you day in and day out, hour by hour, defining who you are and how you feel. But you have to be able to catch that you're in that state of insanity. And you have to pause and know that there is a pathway in consciousness to feel good regardless of circumstances. Ask yourself that question. Just take this with you. Question yourself right now. Do I know how to feel good regardless of circumstances? How often do I practice feeling good regardless of circumstances? So I'll, much of the life I lived before I got into the ministry was in that illusionary, mad world thinking. When I was in New York City and aspiring to be a writer and an actor in some ways, but mostly as a writer, I acquired a job through less than honest means, but I had to fudge a resume in order to get this job as a copywriter in an ad agency, a very well-to-do ad agency. And they were looking for somebody that, could write some new and interesting copy for great books, great art, and great books, great art, great music, all of which I had no background in. But I was recommended by a new agent at General Artists Corporation who had just recently met me and taken on me and my writing partner. Anyway, I don't want to go into that story. It's in my book. You're gonna read this book that I'm finally getting. It's going to get done. But I was working in this ad agency, and I had to get copies of a play I was trying to produce for Off-Broadway. And so I had a key to the place because I was considered a top dude. They hired me as a top dude to write this copy. And I went on a Sunday morning to get copies of my play because nobody would be there or should be there. And lo and behold, while I'm copying my play on their copy machines, the owner walks in. And he says, "What are you doing here?" And I said, well, I was copying some of the great literature stuff, but then I thought I might as well copy my play while I'm here. So he said, "All right, whatever you're taking out of the machine, you're going to have to pay for that, what you're doing for your play, just pay for the paper copy." And I got to talking to him for a second. I said, "What are you doing here?" I was more brazen in those days. "What are you doing here on a Sunday?" I said, you must at least be a millionaire." He says, "So you think $1 million is a lot of money, don't you?" It doesn't go as far as people think it does these days. Of course, at that time, it was everything. But here he was. He works on a Sunday. He was went into his office. And he not only owned that ad agency, he owned a food chain you're all familiar with. Even though most of you have probably avoided it. It was Arby's. He owned Arby's food chain. He owned it. He wasn't the franchise. He was the overall top owner of the stocks of Arby's. And so there's a perfect example of someone that you could almost consider had everything that the world would offer a person who should feel good. He didn't. In fact, he said to me, I'll relax and I'll retire when I have as much money as this guy, Fred Caden, who we were writing the copy for, who was a multimillionaire that owned ski resorts and stuff. But so his comparative mind, his thinking ran to that he had to quest for more. He could not stop the quest within himself. And he didn't know how to feel good without the idea of having more. More was his God. He couldn't be present. He couldn't stay home. He couldn't go out and play golf on that Sunday because something inside him was saying more was necessary. And I'll give you the other side of that. I not only mingled, haphazardly with people that had been well-to-do. I mingled with, the abject poor. And the difference between the two, and I've mingled with those that are very well-to-do, and yet they live a state of gratitude. They know how to feel good regardless of the wealth that they have acquired. And I'm with the poor, it's been the same way. There are those who are poor who simply are driven by the idea that life's a terrible struggle. I don't know how to get by today. I'm going to have to do something terrible. All right, so that's that mentality. I've hung with them. And I've hung with the poor that had no concern whatsoever about their destitute place in life. And I'll give you a perfect example, who is my mother. My mother, who was poor beyond poor. We lived without electricity quite often. But because of the conditions on that time in this terrible ghetto where we lived, the building provided heat through steam heat, and they couldn't cut it off, or they couldn't put a meter on it. So at least you got steam heat through the radiator. We would often eat stewed tomatoes with crushed saltine crackers in it, heated on a radiator. But we had no electricity. When we did have electricity quite often, my mother would have gone downstairs and taken a penny. In the meter box at that time, it was a big meter box for every apartment, and it had a handle on it, and you'd shut it down, and they would remove the fuse from the box, the people that would come to collect for the electricity bill. They'd remove the fuse and it wouldn't be there. My mother found out that you could take a penny and stick it in there and make the connection, and you would have electricity. And she got caught doing that a couple of times. I can't imagine, she's risking her life doing it. But my older sister, who carried the story, she thought it was the greatest. Even my mother joked about it, and my mother would give these different comments, how the guy that would come down to check the meters would come upstairs and say, what in the world are you doing, putting a penny in that box? Do you realize you can burn down the entire building that way? And my mother had these clever comments. Oh yeah, I don't need a lecture, just give me my penny back. I'm sure she never spoke of it that way. I'm sure she was concerned that they might arrest her. But she was caught several times, according to my sister, having done that. But the one thing my mother had, and she had very little of anything else, was an attitude of gratitude. She appreciated what nothingness she had. She worked in an embroidery factory for 75 cents an hour, but what she appreciated was her children. At the time, she had 3 children. She's raising this cold water flat. My father was nowhere to be found. And she had a sense of humor that was amazing. And she had that sense of humor and even do takeoffs on herself. And I knew this, even though I lived a really criminal life for a long time, having grown up getting all the wrong ideas. I knew that my mother had something special. How she could handle, I couldn't handle life as I saw it. For me, at that time, nobody had a life worth living who didn't have money to live it powerfully, wonderfully, joyfully, expensively. And so I want to share with you this final PowerPoint. And believe me, back a long time back, even when I was working at the ad agency, when I was trying to produce my play, etc., I had, a lot of limited negative experiences. My mind was not set where it is now. But I experienced true life. That's the advantage. To have experienced true life. That there really is a place in consciousness where you feel good for no apparent reasons in the world, because you feel the presence and you live in and from that presence. So here's the PowerPoint. Course in Miracles 133 in the Old Text, 144 in the New. If God's will for you is complete peace and joy, unless you experience only this, you must be refusing to acknowledge His will. His will does not vacillate, being changeless forever. When you are not at peace, it can only be because you do not believe you are in Him. Yet He is all in all. His peace is complete, and you must be included in it. His laws govern you because they govern everything. You cannot exempt yourself from His laws, although you can disobey them. that is, in your mind, you can disobey the reality of being okay in any given moment. Yet, if you do disobey the law, and only if you do, you will feel lonely and helpless because you are denying yourself everything. I am come as a light into a world that does deny itself everything. It does this simply by dissociating itself from everything. It is therefore an illusion of isolation maintained by fear of the same loneliness that is its illusion. I said that I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. That is why I am the light of the world. If we can finish it there. I never meant to go that long on this quote. I'll finish it for you. Go back. If I am with you in the loneliness of the world, the loneliness is gone. If you recognize the presence in any given moment or circumstance, you have freed yourself from the thinking of the world. You cannot maintain the illusion of loneliness if you are not alone. My purpose then is still to overcome the world. All right. I want to just complete this with the idea that the law being reiterated over and over again by the Master of Masters and the Masters of Life, it is in what you are giving out that you are receiving. Look at that. It all comes right back to our free will. It is in what you are giving out that you are receiving. It is what you are thinking most of the time that's creating less than harmonious, loving awareness and experiences that you are going to be experiencing, because all minds, to some degree, even though they're not consciously awake to it, all minds, here it is, take this with you, this is it. All minds, to some degree, are connected. So whatever you're thinking, most of the time, you are creating in all that are around you. It is in what you're giving out that you will be receiving. And whatever you're lacking in your life, it's because you still don't know how to be God conscious. We're going to practice God consciousness now by putting away all the stuff we brought with us from the world, and for a few moments just sit and be okay with ourselves, just sitting right here, right now, being grateful that we have this opportunity to be awake, sitting still and being awake. When we get through with the bowls, I'm going to lead a guided meditation. Just take a couple of deep breaths. Rest in the awareness of the present moment. I now recognize the miracle of my life. I count my blessings and feel true gratitude for everyone who makes them possible. I relinquish all grievances that come to mind, for such block my feelings of well-being. As I live, I praise and thank those who appear on my path, bestowing benefits to myself and life in general. Praising ignites the divine spirit that fills me with joy. I love my life and give thanks for the many blessings that it affords me. Giving and receiving are the same path to joy and love. I now recognize the miracle of my life. I count my blessings and feel true gratitude for everyone who makes them possible. I relinquish all grievances that come to mind, for such block my feelings of well-being. As I live, I praise and thank those who appear on my path, bestowing benefits to my life and to life in general. Praising ignites the divine spirit that fills me with joy. I love my life and give thanks for the many blessings that it affords me. Giving and receiving are the same path to joy and love. I now recognize the miracle of being alive. I count my blessings and feel true gratitude for everyone who makes them possible. I relinquish all grievances that come to mind, for such block my feelings of well-being. As I live, I praise and thank those who appear on my path, bestowing benefits to myself and life in general. Praising ignites the divine spirit that fills me with joy. I love my life and give thanks for the many blessings that it affords me. Giving and receiving are the same path to joy and love. Be still a moment and know you were created to feel good. I will be still and know that I was created to feel good regardless of circumstances. As we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space, let's go forth with a greater determination to feel good. And for that opportunity, in every moment, we give thanks. And to this, we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. What happened to our offering bag? You know what I mean? Those of you that are watching this live stream on screen, you can be aware of how to give to Unity of Boulder through these particular means. Also, I believe on the screen that you're watching this, there's a place you can scroll down to that says donate. Let us all bring to mind that financial gift we want to make to Unity of Boulder. And let's bless it with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is. Join me now, please. We dedicate this tithe to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth, and to the victory of the Spirit of truth. Amen. Syntisha will not be at the second service, although she was scheduled to be. She caught a little bit of food poisoning while she was away at Unity Village. She went there for the annual conference this year with Mike. And they had an amazing conference. The Shad, for those of you that don't know, Shad Groverland is Norma and my son. And he's the top dog. He's the president of Unity Worldwide. And he's the guy that oversees all that goes into that conference every year. And the reports are that it's amazing. He's found his niche in life now that he's my boss. He's always wanted that, and now he's got it. All right, well, this is a good day to feel good. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. I'll be doing the second service. And listen, we have great refreshments, by the way, in Fellowship Hall. If you want to stick around, have some refreshments, talk to other people, hang out till the next service, I'll tell you what I really wanted to say. Have a beautiful one.